Maya Chen rubbed her tired eyes as she walked through the automatic doors of City General Hospital. The clock on the wall showed 3:15 a.m., and she had just finished one of the longest shifts of her nursing career. 12 hours of back-to-back patients, emergency calls, and barely enough time to grab a cup of coffee. Her feet ached in her worn sneakers, and all she wanted was to get home, take a hot shower, and sleep for the next 10 hours. The parking garage was eerily quiet at this hour. Most people were safe in their beds while she and the other night shift workers kept the world running. Maya had been doing this job for 6 years now, ever since graduating from nursing school with more debt than she cared to think about. But she loved helping people, even on nights like this when exhaustion made her feel like she was walking through fog. She was digging through her purse for car keys when she heard something that made her stop. A low, pained sound echoed through the concrete garage. Maya paused, listening carefully. There it was again, definitely human and definitely in distress. Her first thought was to call security. The hospital had strict policies about staff safety, especially for women working night shifts, but something about the sound tugged at her heart. It wasn't aggressive or threatening. It sounded like someone was hurt and trying not to make noise, like they were hiding their pain. Maya followed the sound, her footsteps echoing off the concrete walls. The parking garage had several levels, and she was on the lowest one where employees parked. During the day, this place bustled with activity, but now it felt like a ghost town. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows between the few remaining cars. The sound came again, weaker this time. Maya walked toward the far corner of the garage, past a maintenance area where the hospital kept dumpsters and equipment. That's when she saw him. A man was sitting on the ground, leaning against the brick wall behind one of the large dumpsters. His head was tilted back, and even in the dim light, Maya could see blood on his forehead. His clothes looked like they had once been nice, dark pants and a button-down shirt, but now they were torn and dirty. His hair was disheveled, and there were scrapes on his hands and arms. Maya's nursing training kicked in immediately. She approached slowly, not wanting to startle him if he was conscious. "Hello?" she called softly. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" The man's eyes opened slightly. They were unfocused, but he seemed to be trying to look at her. His lips moved, but no sound came out at first. Then barely a whisper. "Help, please." Maya knelt beside him, her tiredness forgotten. She pulled out her phone and turned on the flashlight to get a better look at his injuries. The head wound didn't look too deep, but head injuries could be tricky. He might have a concussion. His breathing was shallow, and when she gently touched his wrist to check his pulse, his skin felt clammy and cold. "What's your name?" she asked gently. "Can you tell me what happened?" The man tried to focus on her face. I don't remember," he whispered. "Everything's fuzzy. My head hurts so bad." Maya looked around the area. There was no car nearby, no wallet or identification that she could see. His pockets appeared to be empty. It looked like he might have been robbed, or maybe he was homeless and had been attacked. Either way, he needed medical attention. She should call an ambulance. That was the proper procedure. But Maya knew what would happen then. The paramedics would bring him to the emergency room, where he would wait for hours to be seen. If he had no insurance and no identification, he would get minimal treatment and be discharged as soon as possible. If he was homeless, he would end up right back on the streets, probably in worse condition than before. Maya had seen it happen too many times. The healthcare system wasn't designed to help people who fell through the cracks, and something about this man made her think he wasn't used to living rough. His hands, despite being scraped up, were soft. His teeth, which she could see when he tried to speak, were straight and well cared for. Even his torn clothes looked expensive. "Listen," she said, making a decision that surprised even her. "I'm going to help you, but I need you to trust me."
"Can you walk if I help you?"
The man nodded weakly. Maya helped him to his feet, supporting most of his weight. He was taller than her and probably weighed twice as much, but adrenaline gave her strength. Slowly, carefully, she guided him toward her car. Where are we going?" he asked, his voice still weak but a little clearer. "Somewhere safe," Maya replied. "I'm a nurse. I can take care of you, but not here." It took several minutes to get him to her car and into the passenger seat. He leaned back and closed his eyes, looking pale under the harsh parking garage lights. Maya buckled his seatbelt and then got behind the wheel, her heart pounding. What was she doing? She didn't know this man. He could be dangerous. He could be anyone. But as she looked at his face, peaceful now, vulnerable, clearly in pain, her instincts told her he wasn't a threat. Sometimes in nursing you had to trust your gut. You learned to read people quickly, to see beyond what was on the surface. This man needed help. And for reasons she couldn't fully explain, Maya felt compelled to give it to him. The drive to her apartment took 15 minutes through empty city streets. The man, she really needed to find out his name, drifted in and out of consciousness. Maya kept talking to him to make sure he stayed responsive, asking simple questions about how he felt, whether he was dizzy, if he remembered anything about what happened. His answers were brief and confused. He said his head felt like it was splitting open. He couldn't remember how he got hurt or where he had been before. When she asked his name, he paused for a long time before saying, "Alex, I think it's Alex." Maya lived in a small apartment complex about 3 miles from the hospital. It wasn't fancy, just a 1-bedroom unit with basic furnishings, but it was clean and safe. She had worked extra shifts to afford this place after her ex-boyfriend moved out 6 months ago. Taking half the furniture and leaving her with all the bills, getting Alex up 2 flights of stairs to her apartment was even harder than getting him to the car. He was getting weaker, and Maya was worried about internal injuries. Once inside, she helped him to the couch and immediately went to get her first aid supplies. Working night shifts had taught her to keep a well-stocked medical kit at home. As she cleaned his head wound and checked his other injuries, Maya wondered what she had gotten herself into. She was supposed to work again tomorrow night, but Alex clearly needed monitoring for at least the next 24 hours. She would have to call in sick, something she hated doing because it left her co-workers short-handed. But looking at Alex's face as he finally fell into what appeared to be natural sleep, Maya knew she had made the right choice. Sometimes helping people meant taking risks, meant going beyond what was expected or required. She had become a nurse to make a difference in people's lives. Maybe this was her chance to really do that. She settled into the chair across from the couch, planning to stay awake all night to monitor him. Outside her window, the city continued its restless sleep, unaware that 2 strangers had just begun a journey that would change both their lives forever. Maya woke up in the chair with a stiff neck and sunlight streaming through her blinds. For a moment she forgot where she was and why she wasn't in her bed. Then she saw Alex still sleeping on her couch and everything came rushing back. She checked her phone, 11:30 a.m. She should have been getting ready for work in a few hours, but there was no way she could leave Alex alone. She called her supervisor at the hospital, putting on her best sick voice. "Hi Janet, it's Maya. I'm really sorry, but I think I caught something. Fever, nausea, the whole thing. I don't think I should come in tonight." Janet sighed on the other end. Maya rarely called in sick, so her supervisor didn't question it much. "Feel better, Maya. We'll manage somehow. Take care of yourself." If only she knew, Maya thought as she hung up. She was taking care of someone, just not herself. Alex stirred on the couch, his eyes opening slowly. He looked confused for a moment, then seemed to remember where he was. "You're the nurse," he said, his voice stronger than it had been last night. "From the parking garage. That's right. I'm Maya. How are you feeling?" Alex tried to sit up, wincing as he did. "Better, I think. My head doesn't feel like it's going to explode anymore." He looked around her small apartment, taking in the modest furniture, the stack of medical textbooks on her coffee table, the framed nursing degree on the wall. "You brought me to your home." Maya nodded, suddenly feeling a bit embarrassed about her simple living space. "I hope that's okay. You needed somewhere safe to recover, and hospitals aren't always the best place for that if you don't have insurance." "I don't remember much about last night," Alex said, touching the bandage on his forehead gently, "but I remember you helping me. Why did you do that? You don't even know me." It was a good question, and Maya wasn't sure she had a good answer. "I couldn't just leave you there. You were hurt and you needed help. That's what I do. I help people." Over the next 2 days, Maya settled into an unexpected routine. She would wake up and check on Alex, make sure he was eating, monitor his head injury for signs of infection or complications. She had to call in sick to work again, which made her anxious about her job security, but Alex was clearly not ready to be left alone. What surprised her was how easy it was to have him around. Despite not remembering much about his past, Alex was polite and considerate. He insisted on helping with small tasks around the apartment, even though Maya told him he needed to rest. He folded her laundry with precision that seemed almost professional. When her kitchen faucet started dripping, he somehow knew exactly how to fix it. "Where did you learn to do that?" Maya asked, watching him tighten something under the sink with a confidence that seemed at odds with someone who claimed to remember nothing about his life. Alex paused, a confused look crossing his face. I'm not sure. It just seemed obvious what needed to be done." He looked at his hands, soft despite the scrapes from whatever had happened to him. "Sometimes I know things, but I can't remember learning them." Maya spent her grocery money on medical supplies and food for Alex's recovery. She bought protein-rich foods, vitamins, and fresh vegetables, telling herself it was an investment in getting him back on his feet. But her bank account, already stretched thin from student loans and rent, was feeling the strain. Alex seemed to notice her frugal choices. When she came home from the store with generic brands and marked-down items, he watched her put away the groceries with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Maya," he said one evening as they ate dinner together at her small table, "I know this is costing you money. Taking care of me, missing work. I want to pay you back somehow." Maya shook her head. "You don't need to worry about that. Just focus on getting better." "But I am getting better, thanks to you, and I can see." He gestured around the apartment, taking in the stack of bills on her counter, the secondhand furniture, the way she carefully portioned out their meals. "I can see that you don't have much and you're sharing what you have with me." "Why?" Maya was quiet for a moment. She thought about her ex-boyfriend Jake, who had always made her feel like her compassion was a weakness. He used to say she cared too much about other people and not enough about building wealth or status. Maybe that was true, but she couldn't change who she was. "My mom always told me that kindness doesn't cost anything, but it's worth everything," she said finally. "I became a nurse because I wanted to help people. Sometimes that means helping in ways that go beyond just doing your job." Alex nodded slowly. "Your mother sounds wise." She was. "She died when I was in nursing school. Cancer." Maya rarely talked about her mom, but something about Alex made her want to share. She couldn't afford the best treatment, even with insurance. "I watched her fight so hard, and I saw how much difference it made when healthcare workers went the extra mile to care for her, not just treat her." "I'm sorry," Alex said softly. "She would be proud of who you became." The comment brought tears to Maya's eyes. She missed her mom every day, especially during moments like this when she was making decisions that felt big and scary. As the days passed, Maya began to notice more things about Alex that didn't quite add up. His vocabulary was extensive, and he often made references to art, literature, and current events that suggested a good education. When she turned on the news, he would make insightful comments about business and politics that seemed to come from experience, not just casual interest. One morning, she found him reading one of her nursing textbooks with intense focus. "That's pretty dry reading," she said, sitting down beside him on the couch. "Actually, it's fascinating. The human cardiovascular system is incredibly complex. Did you know that your heart beats about 100,000 times per day and pumps roughly 2,000 gallons of blood?" Maya stared at him. "How do you know that?" Alex looked surprised by his own knowledge. I'm not sure. It just came to me when I was reading." He closed the book and rubbed his temples. "Sometimes I feel like there's this whole other life in my head that I can't quite reach. The memories might come back gradually," Maya said gently. "Head injuries can affect memory in different ways. The important thing is that you're getting stronger physically." It was true. Alex was looking much better. The color had returned to his face and his injuries were healing well. But Maya found herself hoping his recovery would take a little longer. She enjoyed having someone to talk to in the evenings, someone who listened when she talked about her long shifts and difficult patients. Alex was a good listener, and he seemed genuinely interested in her work and her dreams. One night, as they watched an old movie together, Alex turned to her with a serious expression. "Maya, I need you to know that whatever my story is, whatever I find out about my past, I'll never forget what you've done for me. You saved my life, but more than that, you've shown me what real kindness looks like." Maya felt her cheeks warm. "You don't need to thank me. Anyone would have done the same thing." Alex shook his head. "No, they wouldn't have. Most people would have called for help and walked away. You brought me into your home, spent your own money, missed work to take care of a complete stranger. That's not something just anyone would do." Looking into his eyes, Maya felt something shift between them. It wasn't just caregiver and patient anymore. They were becoming friends, maybe something more. And that scared her almost as much as it excited her, because she still knew almost nothing about who Alex really was. By the end of the first week, Alex was moving around Maya's apartment like he belonged there. His head wound had healed to a thin scar, and the confusion in his eyes had mostly cleared. But instead of talking about leaving, he seemed to be settling in. Maya found herself both relieved and worried about this. She had returned to work at the hospital, but coming home to Alex felt different than coming home to an empty apartment. He would have dinner waiting for her, made from whatever groceries she had. Somehow he could turn her basic ingredients into meals that tasted like they came from an expensive restaurant. "Where did you learn to cook like this?" Maya asked one evening, tasting a pasta dish that was better than anything she'd ever made. Alex paused, a familiar confused look crossing his face. "I honestly don't know. When I was making it, I just knew what to do. Like my hands remembered even though my mind doesn't." This kept happening. Alex would do something that showed skills or knowledge that didn't match someone who had been living on the streets. When Maya's laptop started running slowly, Alex spent an hour fixing it, somehow knowing exactly which programs to delete and how to optimize the system. When she mentioned wanting to rearrange her furniture but not being strong enough to move the heavy pieces alone, Alex redesigned her entire living room layout with an eye for space and aesthetics that seemed professional. "You have really good taste," Maya said, admiring how much bigger and more elegant her small apartment looked with the furniture arranged differently. "Do I?" Alex seemed surprised by this. "I look at spaces and just see how they could be better. But I don't remember learning about design or anything like that." Maya was starting to realize that Alex's memory loss might be more complicated than a simple head injury. But every time she tried to ask him about his past, he would get a distant look in his eyes and change the subject. What she couldn't ignore was how comfortable they had become together. Alex would wait up for her when she worked late shifts, worried about her safety walking to her car at night. He had taken over most of the household tasks, insisting it was the least he could do. Maya found herself looking forward to coming home in a way she never had before. The problem was money. Taking care of Alex had drained her savings, and she was already behind on several bills. Her credit card was maxed out, and her student loan payments were due soon. She tried to hide her financial stress from Alex, but he seemed to notice everything. "Maya, you got another notice from your credit card company," Alex said one morning, holding up an envelope that had been slipped under her door. "And there's a stack of bills on your counter that keep getting thicker." Maya felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. She had always been independent, and having someone see how much she was struggling felt humiliating. "It's fine. I just need to pick up some extra shifts." "You're already working yourself to death," Alex said gently. "When was the last time you had a full day off? When was the last time you did something just for fun?" Maya couldn't remember. Between work and taking care of Alex, she hadn't had time for anything else. She used to enjoy reading, going to movies, meeting friends for coffee, but those things felt like luxuries she couldn't afford anymore, both in terms of time and money. "I don't mind," she said, though her voice sounded tired even to her own ears. "This is just temporary. Once you get back on your feet and find work." "What if I don't remember enough about my past to find work?" Alex asked. "What if I never remember who I was before?" It was the question they had both been avoiding. Alex had been with her for 2 weeks now, and while his physical injuries had healed, his memory hadn't returned. He still had no identification, no idea where he had come from, no connections to his previous life. "We'll figure it out," Maya said, though she wasn't sure how. "Maybe we should contact some social services, see if anyone has reported you missing." Alex's face went pale. "No, not yet. Please, I'm not ready for that." Maya didn't understand why he seemed so afraid of reaching out for help, but she didn't push. She had learned that Alex would share things when he was ready. That weekend, Maya finally had 2 days off in a row. She planned to spend them catching up on laundry, paying bills, and maybe getting a full night's sleep. Instead, Alex surprised her with a picnic in the park. "Where did you get all this food?" Maya asked, looking at the spread of sandwiches, fruit, and fancy cookies he had laid out on a blanket. "I used some of the cash from your emergency jar," Alex admitted. "I know I shouldn't have, but I wanted to do something nice for you. You've been taking care of everyone else for so long." Maya should have been upset about him taking her emergency money, But looking at the effort he had put into planning this perfect afternoon, she found herself touched instead. "You didn't have to do this." "Yes, I did," Alex said seriously. "Maya, you've been giving and I haven't been able to give anything back. Let me at least give you one afternoon where you don't have to worry about taking care of anyone." They spent hours in the park, talking about everything except Alex's mysterious past. Maya told him about her dreams of opening a small clinic in an underserved neighborhood, somewhere she could provide quality health care to people who couldn't afford it otherwise. Alex listened with the kind of attention that made her feel like her dreams mattered. "You really think you could do it?" Alex asked. "Open your own clinic? Someday, maybe. It would take a lot of money and planning, but I think there's a real need for it." Maya sighed. "Right now it feels impossible, though. I can barely keep up with my own bills." Alex was quiet for a long moment. "What if you had the money? Hypothetically, how would you start?" Maya found herself describing her vision in detail. The location she had scouted, the services she would offer, the sliding scale payment system she had researched. Alex asked thoughtful questions that showed he understood business in a way that surprised her. "You've really thought this through," he said. "It's not just a dream for you. It's a plan." "A plan I can't afford to execute," Maya said with a bitter laugh. As they walked home from the park, Alex was unusually quiet. Maya noticed him looking at expensive cars parked on the street with an odd expression, almost like recognition. When they passed a high-end restaurant, Alex stopped abruptly. "I think I've been there before," he said, staring at the entrance. "Really? When?" Alex shook his head, frustrated. "I don't know. But something about it seems familiar. The way the doorman is dressed, the style of the building." He rubbed his temples. "It's like trying to remember a dream." That night, Maya woke up around 2 a.m. and realized Alex wasn't on the couch. She found him in her small kitchen using her laptop. The screen was reflecting off his face in the darkness. "Alex, what are you doing?" He jumped, quickly closing the laptop. "I couldn't sleep. I was just on browsing, trying to see if anything online might trigger a memory." Maya felt a strange uneasiness. There had been something furtive about the way he closed the laptop, like he didn't want her to see what he was looking at. But she pushed the feeling aside. Alex had been nothing but honest with her since she found him. "Find anything interesting?" she asked. "Not really," Alex said, but he wouldn't meet her eyes. "Just reading news articles, stuff like that." The next morning, Maya noticed that Alex seemed different. He was distracted, checking his phone. When had he gotten a phone? And seemed lost in thought. When she asked him about it, he said he had found an old phone in his jacket pocket and managed to get it working again. But he still didn't recognize any of the contacts or information on it. "Maybe your memory is starting to come back," Maya suggested hopefully. "Maybe," Alex said, but he didn't sound happy about the possibility. Maya was beginning to realize that as much as she cared for Alex, there were things about him that didn't add up, and as comfortable as they had become together, she still knew almost nothing about who he really was. Part of her was afraid to find out because she was starting to fall for this mysterious man who had appeared in her life like he was meant to be there. But secrets had a way of coming to light, whether people were ready for them or not. Maya stared at the notice in her hands, reading it for the third time. The words didn't change. 3 months behind on rent, 30 days to pay or face eviction. She had known this was coming, but seeing it in official writing made her stomach drop. It was Tuesday morning, and Alex had gone for one of his long walks around the neighborhood. Maya was grateful he wasn't there to see her breakdown. She sat at her kitchen table, surrounded by bills she couldn't pay, and finally let herself cry. How had she let things get this bad? She knew the answer. Taking care of Alex had been expensive, but more than that, she had been so focused on his recovery that she had ignored her own problems. Missing work, spending her emergency savings, maxing out her credit cards. It had all seemed worth it at the time. Now she was facing the possibility of losing everything. Her phone rang. It was her landlord, Mr. Peterson. "Maya, I'm sorry to have to do this," he said, his voice genuinely apologetic. "You've been a good tenant for 2 years, but I can't keep carrying your unpaid rent. My own bills are piling up." "I know, Mr. Peterson, I'm trying to figure something out. Maybe I can pick up extra shifts or find a second job. 3 months' rent plus late fees is over $8,000, he said gently. "That's a lot of extra shifts. Look, if you can come up with at least half by next week, maybe we can work out a payment plan." But if not, Maya hung up feeling sick. $8,000 might as well have been $8 million. Her savings account had $12 in it. Her credit cards were maxed out. She could ask her sister for help, but Lisa had 3 kids and her own financial struggles. When Alex returned from his walk, Maya was still sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the pile of bills. Maya? What's wrong? Alex sat down across from her, immediately concerned. Maya handed him the eviction notice without saying anything. Alex read it, his face growing serious. How bad is it? He asked quietly. Bad. Maya's voice cracked. I owe 3 months' rent plus late fees. I have 30 days to come up with over $8,000 or I lose the apartment. Alex was quiet for a long moment. This is because of me, isn't it? Because you've been taking care of me instead of working full-time. Maya wanted to deny it, but they both knew it was true. It's not your fault. I made the choice to help you. A choice that's ruining your life. Alex stood up abruptly, running his hands through his hair. Maya, I can't let this happen. You saved my life and now you're losing everything because of me. It'll be okay, Maya said, though she didn't believe it. I'll figure something out. Maybe I can find a cheaper place or move back with my sister for a while. Your sister lives 3 hours away. You'd have to quit your job, start over somewhere else. Alex was pacing now, agitated in a way Maya had never seen him. No, this isn't happening. Not because of me. That evening, Alex was quieter than usual. He made dinner, but barely touched his own food. Maya caught him staring out the window several times, lost in thought. Are you okay? She asked. I'm thinking, Alex said, about solutions, about what I can do to help fix this. Unless you've suddenly remembered being a millionaire in your past life, I don't think there's much either of us can do, Maya said with a bitter laugh. Alex gave her a strange look, but didn't respond. That night, Maya woke up again to find Alex missing from the couch. This time, he wasn't in the kitchen with her laptop. She found him on her small balcony, talking quietly on his phone. When he saw her through the glass door, he quickly ended the call. Who were you talking to? Maya asked as he came back inside. Wrong number, Alex said, but he wouldn't meet her eyes. Someone trying to reach a business. I told them they had the wrong person. Maya wanted to believe him, but something felt off. Alex had been acting strange for days, and now she was starting to wonder if she really knew him at all. The next morning, Maya left for work with a heavy heart. She had decided to talk to her supervisor about picking up every available extra shift, even if it meant working 7 days a week for the next month. It was probably impossible, but she had to try. When she got home that evening, Alex was sitting on the couch with an expression she couldn't read. We need to talk, he said. Maya's stomach dropped. Those 4 words never meant anything good. About what? About your rent problem. About solutions. About me. Maya sat down across from him, noticing that he seemed more nervous than she had ever seen him. Okay, what about you? Alex took a deep breath. Maya, what I'm about to tell you is going to be hard to believe, and you're probably going to be angry with me, but I need you to know that everything I've felt for you, everything between us, that's all real. You're scaring me, Alex. Just tell me whatever it is. Alex looked down at his hands. I haven't been completely honest with you about my memory. Some things have been coming back to me over the past week. Important things. Maya felt cold. What kind of things? I remember who I am, where I come from, why I was in that parking garage the night you found me. Alex finally looked up at her. Maya, my name isn't Alex, it's Alexander Thorne. And I'm not some homeless guy who got mugged. Maya stared at him. Then who are you? My family owns Thorne Industries. We make medical equipment, pharmaceuticals. The company is worth about $2 billion. Alexander watched her face carefully. I'm worth about $2 billion. Maya felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. That's impossible. 3 months ago, my father died suddenly. Heart attack. I was supposed to take over the company, but I couldn't handle the pressure. Everyone wanted something from me. Everyone had opinions about what I should do with my life, with the business. I started having panic attacks, couldn't sleep, couldn't think straight. Alexander's voice was getting faster, like he needed to get it all out before she stopped him. So I walked away. I left my apartment, threw away my wallet, my credit cards, everything that connected me to that life. I wanted to disappear. The night I found you. Maya's voice was barely a whisper. I had been living on the streets for 2 weeks. I thought if I could understand how regular people lived, how they survived, Maybe I could figure out who I really was underneath all the money and expectations. Alexander leaned forward. But I got mugged that night. They took the little cash I had, beat me up pretty badly. I probably would have died if you hadn't found me. Maya stood up abruptly, her mind racing. So this whole time, while I've been struggling to pay bills, working extra shifts, draining my savings to take care of you, you've been a billionaire. Yes, Alexander said quietly. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Maya. Sorry. Maya's voice was rising. I'm about to lose my apartment. I've been eating ramen noodles so I could buy you decent food. I called in sick to work because I was worried about leaving you alone. I know how terrible this sounds. Why didn't you tell me? When you started remembering, why didn't you say something? Alexander stood up too, reaching for her hands, but Maya stepped back. Because I was afraid of this. Of you looking at me differently. Maya, these past few weeks with you have been the happiest I've ever been. For the first time in my life, someone cared about me just because of who I am, not because of what I could give them. But it was all based on a lie, Maya said, tears starting to fall. Everything we shared, everything I felt, you were lying to me the entire time. Not lying. Not about the important things. My feelings for you, Maya, those are real. Everything I told you about how much you mean to me, how much I admire your kindness and strength, that's all true. Maya shook her head, backing toward her bedroom. I need you to leave. Maya, please. Let me fix this. Let me help with your rent, with your bills. Let me make up for what I've cost you. With your money? Maya's voice was sharp. You think throwing money at this makes it better? I want to help you start that clinic you talked about. I have the resources to make your dreams come true. Get out, Maya said firmly. Just get out. Alexander looked like she had slapped him. Maya, don't do this. What we have is real. What we have is over. Maya went into her bedroom and closed the door. She heard Alexander moving around the apartment for about an hour, then heard the front door close. When she finally came out, he was gone, leaving only a note on the kitchen table with a phone number and the words, "When you're ready to talk, call me. I meant everything I said about loving you. Alexander." Maya crumpled up the note and threw it in the trash. Then she sat on her couch in the same spot where she had nursed a stranger back to health and cried until she had no tears left. Maya spent the next 3 days in a fog. She went to work, came home to her empty apartment, and tried to figure out how to save her life from falling apart. Without Alexander there, the place felt too quiet, too small. She found herself looking at the couch where he used to sleep and feeling angry all over again. But underneath the anger was something worse. She missed him. She missed their conversations, the way he listened when she talked about her patients, the way he made her laugh after difficult shifts. She missed feeling like she had someone who cared whether she made it home safely at night. On Thursday morning, Maya's landlord called again. Maya, I'm sorry, but I need an answer. Do you have the money or not? Maya closed her eyes. No, Mr. Peterson, I don't have it. Then I'll have to start the formal eviction process tomorrow. You'll have until the end of the month to move out. After hanging up, Maya sat in her kitchen and tried to make a plan. She could move in with her sister temporarily, but that meant giving up her job at the hospital and starting over in a new city. She could try to find a cheaper apartment, but with an eviction on her record, that would be nearly impossible. Every option felt like giving up on the life she had worked so hard to build. That afternoon, there was a knock at her door. Maya opened it to find a man in an expensive suit holding a briefcase. Ms. Chen. I'm Robert Walsh, an attorney. I represent Alexander Thorne. May I come in? Maya's heart started pounding. If Alexander sent you here to try to convince me to take his money. Actually, he doesn't know I'm here, Mr. Walsh said. May I please have just 5 minutes of your time? Against her better judgment, Maya let him in. Ms. Chen, I've known Alexander since he was a child. I was his father's lawyer, and now I handle his legal affairs. Mr. Walsh sat down on the edge of Maya's couch. I've never seen him as distraught as he's been these past few days. Good, Maya said, though the words felt hollow. He's told me everything. About how you found him, how you cared for him, how he wasn't honest with you about who he was. Mr. Walsh leaned forward. But I think there's something you should know about what he's been doing since he left here. Maya didn't want to care, but she found herself listening. Alexander has spent the last 3 days setting up something called the Community Health Foundation. He's putting $50 million into it. His own money, not company money. The foundation's purpose is to fund small clinics in underserved neighborhoods exactly like the one you described to him. Maya felt her breath catch. Why are you telling me this? Because he's asked me to offer you the position of director. You would have full control over where clinics are built, how they operate, what services they provide. Alexander would have no involvement in the day-to-day operations. Maya shook her head. He's trying to buy my forgiveness, perhaps. But Miss Chen, I've reviewed the business plan he's created. It's not just about you. This foundation could help thousands of people get healthcare they otherwise couldn't afford. Alexander could have chosen any charity to donate to, but he chose to create something that would make your specific dream come true. After Mr. Walsh left, Maya sat alone with her thoughts. Part of her wanted to tear up the business plan he had left behind, but she couldn't stop herself from reading it. Alexander had thought of everything: sliding scale payments, partnerships with medical schools to provide training for new doctors, mobile clinics for rural areas. It was exactly what she had envisioned, but bigger and better than she had ever imagined possible. 2 days later, as Maya was packing boxes in her apartment, there was another knock at her door. This time it was Alexander. He looked tired, like he hadn't been sleeping. He was wearing jeans and a simple t-shirt, not the expensive clothes she might have expected now that she knew who he really was. "I know you don't want to see me," he said, "but I needed to tell you something before you disappear from my life forever." Maya crossed her arms. "What? I'm not going back to my old life. To the company, the fancy apartment, any of it. These past few weeks with you showed me who I want to be, and it's not the person I was before." Alexander's voice was steady, but Maya could see his hands shaking slightly. "I'm selling my shares in Thorn Industries. I'm going to live simply, work with my hands, help people the way you taught me to help people. You don't have to change your whole life because of me," Maya said quietly. "I'm not doing it because of you. I'm doing it because of who I became when I was with you. You showed me that happiness doesn't come from having money or power. It comes from connecting with people, from being useful, from caring about something bigger than yourself." Maya felt tears starting to form. "Alexander, I love you, Maya. Not because you took care of me, but because of who you are. You're the strongest, kindest, most genuine person I've ever met. And if I have to spend the rest of my life proving that to you, I will." Maya looked at him standing in her doorway, and saw not the billionaire who had lied to her, but the man who had waited up for her after late shifts, who had fixed her kitchen faucet, who had listened to her dreams like they mattered. "The lawyer came to see me," she said, "about the foundation. I hope you'll consider it. Even if you never want to see me again, I hope you'll take the job. You could help so many people. Why did you choose that? Of all the charities you could support, why healthcare?" Alexander's voice got soft. "Because you told me about your mother, about watching her fight cancer, about seeing how much difference it made when healthcare workers went beyond their job descriptions to really care for people. I want to honor that. I want to honor what you taught me about compassion." Maya felt something inside her chest loosen. "I'm still angry with you. I know. You have every right to be. I'm angry that you lied to me. I'm angry that you let me struggle financially when you could have helped. I'm angry that I fell in love with someone who wasn't completely real. But I was real," Alexander said urgently. "Everything I felt for you, everything I shared with you about wanting to be a better person, about finding meaning in life, that was all real. I just left out the part about having money." Maya was quiet for a long moment. "If we were going to try to make this work, and I'm not saying we are, things would have to be different." "Different how? No secrets. No matter how difficult or uncomfortable, we tell each other the truth about everything." Alexander nodded. "Yes, absolutely. And I don't want your money. If I take the foundation job, it's because I believe in the mission, not because I want anything from you personally." "Understood. And we start over. We don't pretend the lies didn't happen, but we start building something new based on honesty." Alexander's eyes filled with hope. "Does that mean?" "It means I'm willing to try," Maya said. "But you're going to have to earn my trust back, Alexander. And that's going to take time." 6 months later, Maya stood in the main treatment room of the Riverside Community Health Clinic, watching her team of nurses and doctors care for patients who had nowhere else to go. The clinic was everything she had dreamed of and more. Bright, welcoming, equipped with the latest technology but focused on human connection. Alexander worked there too, not as the benefactor or the boss, but as a volunteer coordinator and handyman. He had kept his word about living simply. He had sold most of his shares in Thorne Industries, kept just enough money to live modestly, and donated the rest to various charities. He lived in a small apartment across town and drove a used car that he had bought himself. Their relationship had grown slowly, built on daily conversations and shared work rather than grand gestures. Maya had learned to trust him again, and Alexander had learned that love wasn't about what you could give someone, but about who you became when you were with them. "Dr. Chen," one of her nurses appeared at Maya's elbow. "The Martinez family is here for their follow-up appointment." Maya smiled. Dr. Chen. She had finished her nurse practitioner program using a scholarship from the foundation, and now she could provide even better care for her patients. As she walked toward the examination room, Maya felt Alexander's hand gently touch her shoulder. "Proud of you," he said quietly. "Proud of us," Maya corrected, and meant it. They had both learned that sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone isn't money or comfort, but the chance to become who they were meant to be. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, you find someone willing to take that Jew.